Tonight, we're traveling to my home state of Indiana to tackle the tale of a snapping turtle the size of a VW Beetle, the Beast of BUSCO. We also talk about our time at the inaugural Frogman Festival in Mason, Ohio. So, look forward to this fantastic episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cincinnati Cabinet of Curiosities presents the Hometown Haunts podcast. I'm your host, Kat Cloco, and along with me, exploring the strange and spooky world, is Jen Kohler and Christina Wald. They'll be with us, in a minute. So, wow, we did a lot of stuff, and we'll be talking about it in a few minutes. But you can stay up to date with us and our show by following us at Cin Cabinet Curio on Twitter and Cincy Cabinet of Curiosities on Instagram. And you can join our Facebook group, Hometown Haunts. And of course, we're dying to hear about your personal encounters with the paranormal and fringe history from your neck of the woods. Send it to hometownhauntedmail@gmail.com or join and share it in our Facebook group, Hometown Haunts. You can find our podcast where you listen and watch our show, or you can watch our show feed on YouTube. Just find us by searching Cincinnati Cabinet of Curiosities. Please take a moment to rate and review us on those platforms so other spooky story lovers just like yourself can find the show. And of course, there's links in the show notes. And thank you, Jen, for putting us up everywhere where you can listen to podcasts. So we got some show news. Come meet us at the inaugural Highland Heights Comic Con on March 18th, 2023. It will be held at the Northern Kentucky University Student Union. Parking will be available across the street at the Kenton Garage. Christina will have illustrations for sale, while I'll have copies of the Cincinnati Cabinet of Curiosities for sale at the Corpse Flower Press Table. And of course, we just went to the Frogman Festival. So, Christina, Jen, come on. Let's tell everyone how much fun we had. Because it was a lot. That wasn't sarcasm.
It was. Who knew cryptids was such a big thing? That's why we're talking about cryptids tonight. We didn't get enough.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough.
Yeah, it was not enough. One cryptid was not enough. I got to talk about two. So,
thanks to everybody that came out and said hi.
Yeah, we had so many podcast listeners, which I'm surprised because I didn't expect anyone to listen to the show. We do this for fun. And people came up to the table and were like, we found about the Frogman Fest from your show. So thank you for listening to us. Yes. Thank you for coming out to the show. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was nice to meet people.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea cryptids were so big.
Well, I did, but that's just because I'm weird. So, I mean, it's Frogman. I didn't realize Frogman was as big as he is. I guess we're going to gender Frogman here. It's. I remember James had me transcribe or translate. He had gotten a gashapon, which is just like a little figurine in a capsule. The capsule toys from Japan. Some figurine company ran a series of cryptids, and the Frogman was one of them. And he had gotten it as a gift from a friend. And he's like, "Hey, Kat, can you translate this for me?" I'm like, "Sure, dude, I totally can." So I knew Frogman was internationally known because of these capsule toys, but man, there were thousands of people there.
Yeah,
thousands. It was great.
It was probably the busiest convention I've ever seen. Well, TCAF was busier, but.
It's not the busiest. Sorry, Frogman Fest. It was not the busiest convention I've ever seen, but it ranked up there for its size.
Yeah.
Especially for its first time.
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing.
Yeah. I love the people who were cosplaying, especially the ones of Mothman and the Fresno Nightwalker. That was amazing. Fantastic. Thank you for coming to check out our booth. What was it? Off-brand Mothman on TikTok. Yeah, that's who they were.
Mothman on TikTok.
Yeah, I love it. So,
and I didn't realize the first time we saw them, but the Nightcrawler had a little squeaky toy.
Yes.
And so whenever they walked, they communicated. Yeah.
That was great. Yeah, that was fantastic. They were such great cosplay. And then, of
Mhm.
course, there was at least 2 people that were Frogman in various
Yeah.
different suits. So
Yes.
that was great.
Well, there was the official one
Mhm.
for the show, and then there was what they described when we went to see the talk that James did, the imposters.
The
So
imposter.
I felt like I was playing that game, you know, this is the imposter.
Yeah. How was James' talk? I wasn't able to
And it
leave the
was
table.
really, really good. He's very dynamic. I mean, we'd seen him when we went to the Anchorage, and he gave a good talk there, but this talk was considerably longer, and he had visual aids, and he was very knowledgeable, and it was just a very interesting collection of all the lore and how it all keeps growing and keeps. It's like mutating into a gianter and gianter piece of lore.
Yeah.
And that's why he was so interested in the play. Hopefully, Jay will get back to us with who did that play because he said, I wanted to see it. And there probably is video of it somewhere. I mean, the Fringe Festival, they usually do record a lot of that stuff at some point. And maybe he'll be able to watch it and talk to the playwright. I suspect it was, I mean, most of the plays at the Fringe Festival are not most, but a lot of them are first time playwrights and first time plays.
Yeah. So for our listeners at home that weren't at the Frogman Fest, James mentioned a Frogman centered play that was at the Fringe Festival, who our friend Jay Callaghan ran for a
Mm-hmm.
number of years. So that's why we're able to just say, it's Jay. He will know because
Yes, well,
he
Cincinnati
would
has
know.
its own fringe festival, which is a really awesome thing. It's a great
Yes.
way to get people that are in theater and want to write plays. It's a great
Hmm.
way to see a lot of new, fresh theater. I mean,
Yeah.
it's also a way to see a lot of bad theater as well. I mean, that's kind of the fun. Is you know,
Yeah.
some of
Yeah.
the stuff is really hidden gems, and some of the stuff is
Think
forgettable.
You
bombs.
gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, you got to start
Exactly,
somewhere.
exactly, and you know, they've had some of the coolest venues. I remember I saw a
Mhm.
play, and the play was actually forgettable, but it was at the Emory Theater, but the Emory Theater is in terrible shape, and it's like so there was, like, dust everywhere and stuff, so it was like being in it's too bad you weren't there, you probably could have sensed something there because it hasn't
Maybe.
I don't know if they're renovating it, I think they are,
That's
but at
good.
that point, it was not being renovated, and it was just rough.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of cool when it first started because it was before they started doing all the before 3CDC was doing all of the renovation and the gentrification of OTR. So you had all these empty buildings, and so you would just go to these plays in the middle of an abandoned building somewhere, and it was kind of cool.
Oh, that's
That
fun.
is cool.
Yeah,
That would
and
be
now
fun.
of course they're all much nicer and
Yeah.
the venues are much more well it's all been fixed up and stuff, but
Yeah.
there
Hmm.
was something to be said for a play where you know it's sort of a happening in the middle of nowhere, and they used to have like visual fringe and artwork displayed in weird abandoned buildings around the city too.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, they don't do visual fringe so much anymore because
Mm.
it didn't work as well as they'd hoped with the play portion.
Oh,
Mm.
okay. Yeah.
Well, the whole way people go to galleries is different than the way they take in theater.
That is
People go
very
to a
true.
gallery opening and then they don't go back.
That is kind of true.
So
Yeah.
you had to have all of these spaces, which I mentioned were in abandoned buildings, and people had to watch it. So you had to have people
Yeah.
stationed in all these abandoned buildings watching the artwork so it didn't get
Yeah.
stolen.
Oh
But it was a
wow.
Fun.
cool idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was neat.
Yeah. Well, it was fun getting back to the Frogman Festival. It was fun
Hmm.
seeing all the different creators that came out.
There
Mhm.
Um,
were many.
there were so many.
Yes.
I got a very awesome felt frogman.
Hmm.
Don't mind my dog shaking its bum in the back. Anyway, and
Where's the felt frogman? Can you show it?
it's still in my car. I
Oh,
haven't gotten it out yet.
oh.
Sorry.
I wish I could see it.
Been a busy
Sorry.
weekend.
It's
True,
been a
true.
very basically well, I'll get back to that, but yeah, so I got some nice prints. I got a print of Bessie, the Lake Erie monster. I got a print of Chupacabra, which done by a really good artist named Sherwin. Let's see, what else did I get? Oh, and another great print of the Fiji mermaid. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's And I should put up all the different creators who I purchased stuff from because they did really great work. And I love adding to this cabinet of curiosities that is my studio. So, yeah, it adds so much character to this room. But yeah, I got home and unpacked what I needed to, all the vital stuff. Sorry, the frogman, I guess, was not considered vital at what 9 p.m. when I got home. I woke up at 6 a.m. that day. Um, so I got home, just dropped my stuff, and washed my face and went to bed and slept for 11 hours.
Wow.
I was
Yeah.
so tired, but it was really fun, and it was great talking to everyone. Got to see some friends from the paranormal field around here that are still working in the paranormal field. Jen got to meet David and Jamie too, and
Mhm.
then met a whole bunch of new people. So it was a great fest. I am looking forward to next year,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe we can do a talk. I don't know. I'll have to talk to Jeff and Craig. So that'd be fun.
Oh, definitely. We should definitely I mean,
Jen looks nervous. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll just do a table again. I don't know. We
I
can
can
do
sit
that.
at
well,
the table while you do the talk.
Okay,
yeah,
you'll
Jen,
hear
you
me.
don't necessarily have to. I mean, we could just do, a cat could do most of the talking, and we can just sit there and nod our heads for the most part.
Pretty
I
much, pretty
mean,
much. Kind of
Oh,
like what I'm doing now. Public speaking makes me very nervous.
it
I
I
would.
mean,
get
Kat, I
that.
tried to do your spiel for the table while you were out looking around, and it did
Mhm.
not come out at nope,
It does
not
not
right
always
at
work for
all.
me at all. Like, there was one poor couple, I was in the middle of giving they're called elevator pitches when you're trying to
Hmm.
give that really quick little blurb of what you do. Um, I was in the middle of it and my voice completely cut out. It just
Oh
disappeared
no.
and they just stared at me and I'm like, "Hold on a second," and chugged a whole like half of my water bottle just trying to get my voice back.
Yeah.
So, that was fun. And yeah, there will be times, especially later in the day, where I have forgotten the elevator pitch. I have forgotten my own name because my
It's
elevator
very
pitch is,
overwhelming.
yeah, it's overwhelming. It's like, "Hi, I'm Kat. I'm the editor of the Cincinnati Cabinet of Curiosities. It's a comics anthology written and illustrated by local artists." And then sometimes I'll go, "Hi, I'm, oh, I can't do this." Like, and I make it into a little improv comedy act where
Yeah,
it's just
for the
make the
millionth
person laugh.
time.
Maybe they'll stick
Yeah.
around until I can remember it. So it's
Well, they certainly seemed to be, firing on all the cylinders with their marketing and with, they got the word out I mean, not just people listening to this podcast, but they were on TV, they were in their
mhm,
newspapers.
Mhm.
So whoever was doing it was very good with their press release and all of that stuff. And I think it was kind of a piece of fun news when you
oh
think
yeah,
about all the other news stuff, local news coverage and that sort of thing. It's something that is a bright spot and something more fun. People love these tales of
mhm,
lore. I mean,
yeah,
that's why we do this podcast, is for the same reason. And
yeah,
it's really exciting to meet people that are into it also.
oh yeah.
Oh, I
As a
have
matter
so
of
much fun people watching.
as a matter of fact,
I
maybe we have some guests, right?
Sorry.
Like,
oh,
we have some people we can have as guests that were
Yeah,
at the
there's a
yeah.
few that we met that I was like, yeah, you should totally be on the show and
yeah,
talk about it.
totally.
Like my friend David, who does the Dogman group.
Mhm.
And he's an old paranormal friend of mine, but we hadn't
Excellent.
actually seen each other face to face in about a decade.
Wow.
But we follow each other on Facebook and everything. We still communicate. It's just we hadn't seen each other at events really for nearly a decade. It easily
Mhm.
been a few years. So it was great seeing him and his partner and everything. So
Yeah,
um
they were cool.
mhm. So I got a book. It's like, hey, look what I'm working on now. I've been working on it for 3 years.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah,
It,
Books take a
that's
minute.
hmm?
Books take a minute.
Books take a minute. They do take a
oh
minute.
my God, they do.
And yeah, they do.
We can all
Oh.
relate. Although I've never been had a book published.
Oh,
Just
you will.
stories.
You
Yeah.
will.
Mhm.
That's a threat, not a promise.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
We will get you published, Jen.
We
Okay.
will.
Yeah.
It will happen.
Vampires will be involved. We'll get you published.
Maybe vampires, maybe not. I mean, I've written about zombies
Is
too,
that
but
is
I
that a
can't
thing?
subject
Forceful
cats to
publishing?
that. Forcible
Forceful
publishing.
publishing. Usually it's the
In the newspaper
publisher.
industry, yes, because there are multiple times I had written things that I didn't want to write.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're trying to like write out a contract,
Yes.
Yeah.
then you would do that, but we
Mhm.
don't do that here. So we do not do that here.
But yeah,
Anyway.
it was just an exciting mix of people, and hopefully they'll do
Yeah.
it again next year. And it's nice to see so many people into this, and
Mhm.
referencing Erie, Appalachia. I mean, there was so much stuff that you said you hadn't even been aware of with the holler stories and all that kind of thing. So it's kind of exciting seeing all these new stories. And
Oh yeah, talking to other cryptid fans, it was just fun talking about holler stories, especially from the book that we read a few months ago.
yes, it
And
was
like
the
there was a
June, I think.
lot of the Grafton monster there, and I
Really?
was like, wow, this is a not I didn't think so well known cryptid from West Virginia. Like everyone's heard of the Flatwoods monster, but not everyone's heard of Grafton, which was that huge immovable monster that looked like a rock. And like there was some snarlygaster stuff too, which I find
Hmm.
fun. It's a um cryptid that is I know about it, but just because I do doesn't mean everyone does. I love it because it vomit outs like a bunch of tentacles out of its mouth and as it flies through the sky and snatches small children.
It has all the things.
It has all the things. It sounds like something out of Alice in Wonderland, but it was seen in Maryland.
Alice in Wonderland and Cryptids. I think there's a
Mm-hmm.
book there.
Oh, yeah, there is a book there.
Did it get
Um,
any children in
hmm?
Maryland, or is it just a theory?
Sorry, what?
Did it eat any children in
I
Maryland, or
mean,
is it just a theory?
it's just folklore. I don't think it
Okay.
actually. Speaking of children, you will probably hear little boy yipping in the background. That's him.
Oh.
That a ghost. The spooky ghost child voice you hear is not a ghost. That is my spooky child.
But yeah, this is probably a good segue into. We are so excited by cryptids. You've picked a cryptid to do a show on tonight.
Yes. So this is a cryptid I've been particularly excited to do. I save good stories to sprinkle throughout the year so we don't do everything that's huge all at one time. So going on about the Frogman Fest, I am going to introduce our listeners, I think, to the Beast of BUSCO. So this will be a fun episode tonight. So tonight's short sources are from Weird Indiana, Wikipedia, indianapublicmedia.org, Trobusco Turtle Days website, and a bunch of different newspapers such as the Fort Wayne Gazette, the Indianapolis Star, and um, the New Richmond Palladium Item. I love these old newspaper title names. So
Somebody
anyway,
needs to start putting out these newspapers again. It's like they were all bought up and none of them come out anymore.
yeah. So anyway, moving on. So admittedly, we're headed outside the Cincinnati region to visit Turtletown, USA, Churubusco in Whitley County, Indiana. Busco, as it's locally called, sits north of Fort Wayne, Indiana, a small town named after a Mexican-American War victory site. It grew to national fame in 1949 for the delightfully strange lake monster sighting we're talking about tonight. Oscar Falk saw something strange one day in the 7-acre lake on his property in 1898. He emphatically told his family and neighbors about an enormous turtle emerging from the depths of the lake, only for everyone to rebuff his claims. Disappointed and dejected about the reception of his experience, he eventually stopped talking about the sighting, and the giant turtle faded from memory until 1948. Ora Blue and Charlie Wilson were fishing the same lake, now known as Folk Lake, when they witnessed an enormous turtle emerge from the lake. The two estimated that the turtle weighed a whopping 500 pounds and described it to have a back the size of a dinner table and a child sized head. Gail Harris, 43 at the time, was the property's owner, and he reported seeing the beast turtle in the lake rise its head out of the water in an attempt to catch ducks flying overhead, among other sightings. For comparison, the average snapping turtle, also known as the common snapping turtle in northern Indiana, are usually 8 to 14 inches in length, 20 to 36 centimeters, and can weigh up to 45 pounds or 16 kilograms. Word of the fishermen's and farmers' experiences spread around town, and in early 1949, residents of BUSCO planned to build a turtle house for Oscar, naming the giant turtle after the first farmer of the property all those years ago. The turtle house would go in the center of town, where everyone could see him if we catch him. The house was approved by the local Chamber of Commerce and the Community Association. United Press International reporter from Fort Wayne sent an article about the curious turtle sightings to the National Newswire. Overnight, the beast of Busco became nationally famous. This happened in early March 1949. What resulted were mobs of sightseers trespassing onto Gail Harris's land, requiring the state police to step in to control the crowds. First, the lake was surveyed by plane. Then, reporters from the Indianapolis Star and the Fort Wayne Gazette, along with a representative from the Cincinnati Zoo, all claimed to have seen Oscar in and around the lake. This only added to the media frenzy. Over 400 cars an hour were passing through the Harris farm, with the family selling coffee and hot dogs to hungry sightseers. During the height of the buzz for Oscar, a Life magazine photographer named Mike Shea took 299 photos around Folk Lake in an attempt to photograph the beastly turtle. However, all of his photos were deemed unusable and were never published. There were many attempts to catch Oscar. First, Harris had some associates set half a dozen traps around the lake, but none were successful in capturing Oscar. He then hired a crane to lift the turtle out of the lake, but the turtle eluded the crane operator, staying 65 feet offshore and about 10 feet underwater, according to the news article from the New Richmond Palladium item. Harris then hired a deep sea diver from Indianapolis, actually two of them, to explore the pond, but that plan first failed when the wrong equipment was delivered to his farm. This diving attempt caught the attention of the U.S. Coast Guard, who then stepped in. Harris's attempt to hunt and trap Oscar also elicited responses from the Noble County Game Warden and the Indiana Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. So he was being watched. Woodrow Rigsby, a former U.S. Navy diver, made several dives to find Oscar. So they continued diving, even though the first attempt was such a flop. With the help of assistants on a boat above, Rigsby would walk the bottom of Folk Lake. He reported not only seeing Oscar and describing him to be 3 to 4 feet wide, like his shell was 3 to 4 feet wide, but Oscar also had a wife, quotation, just a little bit smaller than him. In another attempt to lure out Oscar, a 200-pound female sea turtle was brought to Folk Lake, but that plan failed as well. I am truly concerned about the well-being of all these turtles. In the final attempt to capture Oscar, Harris had the lake water pumped out into an area sealed off by a dam. Just before all the water was pumped out of the lake, the dam broke, releasing all the water back inside. To this day, Oscar has never been caught, although several snapping turtles were caught in the lake during the turtle hunt. One even made the news in Indianapolis as Oscar's grandson, a whopping 14-pound snapping turtle in 1949. Grandson turtle aside, the Beast of Busco has left a cultural legacy on the town. Since 1950, the town holds the Churubusco Turtle Days Festival, celebrating their beloved cryptid every June. The festival includes a parade, a carnival, and even turtle races. This year's theme for Oscar is Off to the Races for 2023. And if you're interested in going to the festival, it will be held June 14th through the 17th in Churubusco, Indiana. There is a Facebook page for the festival. The link will be in the show notes. And there, my friends, is the Beast of Busco, Oscar, the wonderful VW-sized snapping turtle of Indiana.
That's cool.
Isn't this fun? I
Yeah.
really loved writing this article. I hope everyone liked listening to
I
it.
can't believe he tried to take the water out. That's so mean. Let it
It was
alone.
1949. People had different priorities. But I just love hearing about Gail Harris's attempts to find this turtle.
Yeah.
And it almost it felt like a Monty Python skit, reading
Yeah.
all the different attempts and all the people that were helping him do it. So they really wanted to find this turtle. To what end, I don't know. But there is a fake Beast of Busco turtle shell that is up hanging in a restaurant around northern Indiana. I can't remember the restaurant's name at the moment. I'm sure one of our wonderful listeners is now screaming it at their radio, saying, "Cat, it is blankety blank blank blank," but it's not the real Beast of Busco turtle shell,
And
or is it?
no sightings since then
Uh,
or anything?
Nothing that I saw following up on it. It's
Mhm.
just really this. Um, People have there. I mean, there are naturally snapping turtles swimming around in the lake. The lake was refilled. You can go there. They're quite proud of their turtles, and there's photos I found because I have not been to Busco, Indiana, though I have heard of it. Um, I'm from slightly further north than this town, but yeah, it's there's statues dedicated to Oscar. I love the entire festival dedicated to Oscar. Ho- I want to try to go to this festival. It looks like a fun festival fair to go. Kind
I
of like
agree.
was just like a miniature version of the state fair basically. And they have a really dedicated group of volunteers who are putting it all together. So,
Oh, wow.
Oh,
yeah.
that's exciting.
Yeah.
It has me wondering what the biggest turtle is. Is there? I can't. I've never, in all the times I've drawn animals, I don't think I've ever been asked to draw a turtle that large, and so that makes me wonder. But that doesn't mean there's not a turtle that large. I mean, sea turtles get pretty big, but they're not
Yeah.
Volkswagen sized.
No.
So I'm curious. We'll have to look it
I'm
up.
now looking it up.
Yes, because it seems, what I was thinking the whole time is whoever came up with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that this
Oh,
somehow
Eastman.
fits. Yes,
Yeah.
this sort of fits in that lore.
Okay, I found it. So, the largest living one was a leatherback turtle, which, ooh, man, that did not format right. So it measured 9 feet 5 inches in total
Whoa.
length over the its shell, and it was 9 feet across and
Okay.
weighed 2,120 pounds.
Wow. I have
Mm.
drawn a leatherback turtle, and I had no idea they got that big.
Yeah. So this is the Guinness World Record holder, but
Hmm.
the Beast of Busco is half this size.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, so that's
Wow.
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So it's
So
possible.
it is possible. Let's see what's the largest snapping turtle on record.
Do all turtles live pretty long, or is it just the sea turtles?
A lot of like the Galapagos turtles live to be over 100.
Oh,
Actually,
wow.
the Galapagos turtle I illustrated for the San Diego Zoo book was, I think, he was over 100 and promptly died as we were working on the
Oh.
book, and so we dedicated the book to him. But
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
they lived to
sad.
be quite old. Yeah, it's they have very long lifespans.
Wow.
Okay, so here we go. The largest snapping turtle ever officially recorded was a 16-year-old alligator snapping turtle that
Those are
weighed
big.
in at a massive 249 pounds.
Whoa!
The massive turtle was weighed at the Shedd Aquarium in Chicago in 1999, um, before being sent to the Tennessee Aquarium on breeding loan.
Ooh, they had one. I don't know if they still have an alligator snapping turtle at the aquarium. You were just there. Was it still there?
No, I don't remember it. I just saw a sea turtle in their largest tank, and that was the
Mm,
only
they didn't have the snapping one
like
anymore.
it doesn't look like it. They had long neck turtles with the alligators, the albino alligators, Snowball and Snowflake.
Hmm.
But the largest one was the sea turtle, and oh my goodness, that thing was huge. But
Hmm.
it probably is roughly the size that Busco was or Oscar was actually reported to see to be.
Oh, wow.
But I'm really worried about the sea turtle that they brought into a freshwater lake. I don't see things going well for that poor turtle, but I don't know if they need to be in salt water or not. So
I don't know either.
Yeah, this is where we fail as we're not scientists. So, mm, mm.
Well, now I'm fascinated by that story. Maybe we should go to the
No,
festival.
I would like to go. That'd be fun.
Mhm.
Do alligator turtles eat alligators, or are they like a crossbreed?
I think they just look like alligators.
Okay.
So, but this would not have been an alligator turtle. This would have been a common snapping turtle
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that's what's native to northern Indiana. So, I
Usually
was
predators eat what they can catch. So
yeah.
yeah.
I
True.
don't. I think it probably depends on the turtle. I don't know that much about what does snapping turtles mostly eat. Are they mostly vegetarian and eat
Lettuce.
plants and stuff? I mean, yeah. Whenever you see the Galapagos turtles, they're feeding them lettuce and veg. So I don't know if that's primarily their diet or if they eat other things too.
Snapping turtles eat fish, birds, and other small mammals.
Oh, okay. So
So
they do eat whatever they
that's
can catch.
why
They also
Oscar
will
wanted to eat the ducks.
they'll eat insects, worms, and leafy greens.
Oh,
So they kind of eat anything that they
Mhm.
can get their little mouths around,
yeah.
I mean,
or big mouths.
speaking of frogs, there has been concern because bullfrogs have become so ubiquitous around the country, and they're kind of an invasive species in a lot of areas, and they
Really?
Mhm.
eat a lot of smaller, rarer frogs. Which,
Yeah.
Really?
I
Hmm.
was mentioning that when we were at the Renaissance Festival once, and this little girl looked up and she was like, "Frogs eat other frogs?" And I said,
Scarred
"Oh
that
no,
kid
no,
for
we were just,
life.
I know, I didn't realize we were being overheard." And the look on her face when I said, because it was like a little lake where they had some frogs, and I had just read an article about bullfrogs eating a lot of, indigenous species, and just she looked so crestfallen. I was like, "No, no, not these frogs."
That reminds me, we were at the aquarium last weekend. The very first aquarium tank, they have freshwater, or no, they were saltwater lobsters. One had clearly killed the other one and was eating it in the tank.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, "Oh, look at that." And thankfully, little dude did not notice that. He was watching something else because it was this lobster was chowing down on the inside head piece of the other lobster.
Oh,
So
So,
it's like a horrific tableau, and you're like,
yeah.
okay,
I'm like, "It's a
nature.
circle of life." Like,
Nature is fun.
and they eat us all.
nature is brutal. That's why lobsters remind me of spiders, and I just don't want to eat them.
Well,
Oh.
I guess they're all kind of in the same arthropod sort of thing.
Yeah, well, and they
Mm.
eat anything, right?
Yeah, they do.
Well,
They kinda
Obviously.
well, humans
they
eat anything, so I guess we have a lot in common.
Well, yes,
Mm.
but I don't eat humans.
But we eat Twinkies.
Twinkies are better than lobsters. I don't want to eat lobster.
Lobsters are delicious, but they do eat other people or well,
Other
yeah,
people.
if they'll eat corpses,
This sounds
just
like
like crabs. So
Yeah.
this sounds like an interesting cryptid, the lobster, the human-eating lobster.
I will find
Okay.
one for you and we'll present it on
There's
this
got to be a
show.
cryptid lobster, like a
Oh,
I'm
giant
sure.
one or something.
Yeah.
sidetrack. I just read an article about this guy that went missing. I can't remember where.
He was a lobster.
No,
He was eaten by
he
a lobster.
was ATV riding his ATV, and he ended up in the water somehow, and a shark ate him. They don't know how he got in the water, but
But he was delicious.
someone caught the shark, and
He
then
was
when they
in it.
were fixing the shark, they found an
Yeah.
arm, a tattooed arm or something in the
Was this
shark.
in Australia?
I don't know.
Because I remember that
I
there's
guess
a
I should, before I start talking about this stuff, actually know my sources. But I was just like, oh my God, that's terrifying.
yeah,
But he had
'cause
been missing for a while, and they're
yeah,
like,
this was I think in Australia.
yeah.
Yeah, they found his arm and yeah, the
Mhm.
distinct tattoos. And this is totally a reason to get tattoos is it makes it easy to identify your
Yeah,
body.
yeah. You have your name on every limb, so in case you're
I'm
eaten by
sorry,
a shark,
children.
they can tell who it belonged to.
Well,
Yeah.
obviously, it's possible in Australia. You get on
True,
your
true.
ATV, something happens, you end up in the ocean, and a shark eats you.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that's actually really sad now.
Yeah.
Getting onto my ecological horse, they talk about a lot of stuff in World War II, and they said at the time the oceans were teeming with sharks, and so that was a
Yeah.
real danger when they were doing operations where people are on the water, that they get eaten by sharks. And unfortunately, because of overfishing and just general
Yeah.
ecological disaster, there are not that many sharks anymore, unfortunately.
And
And
this is why people were warned not to put lasers on sharks. Sorry. I'm
Because
in
that
that kind of mood tonight, I guess. Oh, I broke Jen.
that's hilarious.
So
Oh.
no, the ecological stuff, yes, is very bad, but
But
lasers
lasers
on sharks.
on sharks is that sounds like a conspiracy theory. You haven't been reading some of those websites today, have you?
It's from Austin Powers.
I was gonna say, is it from Austin Powers?
It's from the
Yeah.
first Austin Powers movie.
Well, when you read like those things about stuff the Pentagon did, they probably did have a lasers on sharks program.
Oh, I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah.
They've tried everything.
They really have.
Sharks on LSD.
Oh my God.
With lasers.
With lasers. Oh man, that would have been some light
that-
show.
Put
Excuse my
lasers on
snorting.
everything.
Yeah.
Well, didn't they tried to attach bombs to dolphins? And I mean, there's been all sorts of horrible things.
Oh, dolphins are too smart for that. They wouldn't do that. Have you seen that video of a dolphin bringing a girl her iPhone after she's dropped it in the water?
I did
No.
not see that. I saw a dolphin rescuing a dog on some video.
They're amazing animals. They really are. I love dolphins.
Dolphins are great.
They were great. They're super smart.
Let's save the
Anywho.
dolphins. So, on a completely different note, we have a hometown haunt this week.
Yay!
Yay!
So this is from Janet. And she says, "We knew we had a nice female ghost in our family house. She used to communicate through a lamp by blinking light and TV by rolling static with questions by my dad. Before my parents owned it, it was owned by my grandparents and 2 owners before then. After my parents died, we had a lot of work done in the house. In the attic bedroom, our contractor was doing some work in an inset area behind the bathtub and pulled out a small piece of wood off the wall. It was a better part of an old Ouija board facing in. Now that's kind of weird. He said, 'Hey, look at this.' We brought it downstairs and I was going to see how much it was worth. We put it in the living room mantle, and all of a sudden the light went out in the living room and I shrieked. I told him to put it back in the wall in the attic bedroom. After we sold the house, the neighbor told me workmen would hear footsteps upstairs and they thought there was a ghost in the house. I said there was, but it was friendly. Later, she said they found an old Ouija board nailed to the wall in the attic bathroom. I told her to tell them to put it back. In total, we had the house in our family for 78 years.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. That is awesome.
Isn't it?
Huh.
That is a weird feature of the house, the Ouija
Yeah.
board that they kept putting back.
Yeah,
why was it
yeah.
there? I mean, if it was a solid wood, maybe they just needed the piece.
That could be.
And
yeah,
oh
it's
my.
the talking boards. I think I've mentioned this before on the show that my family, when I was going through my mom's stuff, found the family talking board, which was a hand carved wood piece with ABC, all the letters, and then yes, no, and then a maybe. And it was not intricately detailed, but the fact that it's hand carved was amazing. So,
Wow.
yeah, like maybe sticking it as a piece of wood back behind the bathtub, that could be it.
Yeah.
That's a little
Or
speculation.
maybe someone
that's
was taking a bath
amazing.
and wanted to talk to the spirits of the house.
Yeah. Like,
Although it's interesting, she said the lights went out when they brought it downstairs to look at
Yeah.
it. She said to put it back.
mhm.
Which, when she did that, I wondered if that was a strong intuition.
Mm.
It probably was. I mean, the lights going out is super common. Especially, we use them for investigating with making the flashlights turn on and off, or requesting them, not making them. It's not like I have any threat I can make to a ghost to make sure that the lights could go on and off, but it's an easy way of communication, and it's less confusing than knocking. So, because knocking can be anything in the walls, and in a lot of old homes, it's like mice. So, but the flashlights are a little bit easier. So this just feels like that, just doing it with your actual lamps.
Although it's interesting, her father would talk to it.
Oh, sorry.
Well, our time's up, everyone. Good night.
I thought that was maybe a ghost contacting Jen. I was like,
yeah, it's time to take my medication.
Yeah.
Oops.
It kind of fit in well, though.
It did. It really did. That was good timing.
There's actually a really great Instagram account, and I'll put it in the show notes, that has funky different types of Ouija boards. It's a British site, and it's got all these different designs and stuff that people do.
The name escapes me, but there's a man who has collected Ouija boards. He's here in the United States, and it's just a massive museum of Ouija boards that he has. And oh man, I've heard him talk on shows before too. But he's very good at lecturing on the history of Ouija boards and talking boards and seances. So,
I have a memory of me being younger in the house I grew up in, which was an over 100-year-old, I think, Victorian house. And the basement didn't have, it was just, a dirt floor. For some reason, I have a memory of holding a wooden Ouija board, like a hand-carved one. But I have no idea if that's a memory or if it was a dream. Or if we ever had one like that. I really don't know where that came from, but for some reason that image is
Have you talked to your sister about it? Maybe she has a
No,
memory of it as
actually.
well.
I'll ask her.
Yeah.
Now, this hand-carved Ouija board that your mother had, was it possible someone in the family carved it, or was that just something that was available that many people bought back in the day before they were made by Milton Bradley?
Oh, who, me or Jen?
You.
Oh,
you said you had
mine was hand carved. I know.
That's right.
So it was super popular in the 1890s, and I know we talked about with our tarot card history episode last year. Spiritualism was everywhere in the turn of the 20th century up through about the 1930s, but it had its heyday during World War I, which is when my grandmother was alive and a teenager at that time. So I'm pretty sure that this was a 1916 era hand-carved talking board, not Ouija, because Milton Bradley trademarked that name. But just because it was really popular, it's what you did. It was one of the few times that you can actually do a parlor game with somebody of the opposite sex at the time, and socializing in some groups. So...
I was saying that famous picture that Norman Rockwell did.
Yeah, and there was every reason for that picture was because people weren't still at the time, depending on your social group and who you hung around and if it was culturally appropriate or not, that basically men and women did not touch each other or anything, but using a seance or a Ouija board or a talking board was an opportunity to be able to be close to someone you were interested in especially in Midwestern USA at the time. So it was a really popular parlor game in addition to like Jim Rummy or euchre. So yeah.
Well, you didn't have TV, so there were other ways to. I think people did more game. I wouldn't say they did. I think people still game a lot and stuff, but it was they just didn't have the distractions of TV or that sort of thing.
Right. There was a lot more community oriented activities.
Yeah, kind of like we were talking about the
and,
elk club and the clubs when we were talking about a couple episodes ago. That was people just did more social really had parties and get-togethers and neighborhood gatherings and stuff. And I think people still do that. I was going to say, I think tarot is having a huge resurgence. We did the episode, but I can't believe, I think now Kickstarter has its own section on just oracle and tarot decks because it's so popular. And I think a lot of people like doing them. It seems like every week I have a friend with artwork and a new tarot deck, and I can't back all of them, because every time I back one, I'm like, what am I going to do with another one of these? And I love looking at the artwork and stuff. But I think it's just everybody loves working on this type of artwork because it's got sort of a lot of meaning to it, and it's something interesting to work on, and it just seems to have become the thing.
Right. Actually, going back to the Ouija boards, have either of you ever used a Ouija board?
As a kid, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, my grandma had one she used to write letters on all the time. Not with the thing. Like she just used
Okay,
it
I
as
was
a
like
lap desk.
automatic writing.
Did she
She used it
summon
like as a
something?
lap desk. She used it as
Oh,
a lap desk. She didn't have the little, what do they call the thing that you
the
move?
planchette.
Yeah, she didn't have the planchette anymore. She just had
Mm,
the little wooden board, which
right.
is great for drawing on and stuff. It's
Yeah.
sort of a nice desk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the Milton Bradley one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't have one that I know of. That's the only one I ever had. I haven't had one really. I
Hmm.
don't have one here. Do you have one in your house, Kat?
I actually do not have a Ouija board. That's just something I haven't purchased for myself. I have no problem having one around the house.
Mm-hmm.
And it could potentially, I almost said turn itself on, but no, that's not how they work. So like the planchette would just start moving on its own, I know it. But I've used one before in a haunted house. Like it was for not an investigation, not an official investigation. It was a
Mm-hmm.
public ghost hunt. And it was like, who is brave enough to use a Ouija board in a famously haunted house? And I'm like, I am. I'm either brave or stupid. So let's go. Let's do this. So it took a minute to find somebody else to do it with me,
Mhm.
but we did have it work. I I was not the one doing
Oh, neat.
the piloting of the planchette.
I
Yeah.
think if I bought one, I'd want to get a handmade one, like that was at a
Yeah.
craft fair where somebody
Yeah.
lathed everything and stuff.
Oh, that'd be nice.
I've thought
Rather
about
than,
making one out of glass.
Ooh.
oh, you should. You should.
And then when they get really angry, they'll break it.
Ooh.
Yes, it would be hard once it's fused, but yes.
Mhm.
Well, that would
That's
show you
good.
how
That's a
powerful
word.
they were. That would tell
Yeah.
you how powerful they were, is if it broke the glass.
Mhm.
I mean, it definitely is a. It's one of those things that's a good prompt for horror stories
Mhm.
because it seems that you can do anything with it really, and I think that's
Mhm.
why it's popular in horror movies and that
Oh
sort
yeah.
of thing.
Oh yeah.
But
Well, there is a movie called Ouija, which is actually pretty good. A
I
horror
like the
movie that
idea
came
of seeing.
out not too long ago.
Yeah, I like the idea of seeing the ghost through the planchette. I was like, oh, that's clever.
Yeah.
mhm.
It's like a telescope into the netherworld.
I think
Jen's
that
face.
I,
Did not like that idea.
I think I liked stories like that Ghost TV show where it shows that sort of view of haunting rather than something
Oh
that's
yes.
horrifying, trying to harass the living.
In my experience, being a medium, life is much more like ghosts, especially the BBC version.
Yes. Well, I
Um,
love the BBC version.
yeah,
Mhm.
and not so much the horror that is depicted in horror movies. It's basically you're just bopping around doing your everyday thing, and people just pop in, and you're just like, oh no. My favorite is when in the show, and this is getting oddly specific, they're going house hunting
Mhm.
once they think they're going to sell the mansion, and just all the different places and the ghosts that are in each one of these. My favorite is the penthouse with the ghosts in the air. So yeah,
Spoiler alert.
yeah. The slight spoiler alert. It's very vague spoilerly. I don't even
Mhm.
remember what season that is, but
Mhm. It's
I
just.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I just said it's just I think it's an interesting idea of sort of the banality of ghosts. That
Mhm.
seems like that could be a book title, but it wouldn't sell anything. That's why
No.
you say most haunted or whatever because that's what sells stuff. If you said it's just really banal, people
Right.
are like, oh, I don't want to read that.
Well, you need conflict for every story, but I
Mhm.
Exactly.
do find it comforting because I've always been afraid of death. The thought of not existing for some reason
Mm-hmm.
terrifies me, and I think that's why I'm not obsessed, but more interested in it than others.
Mhm.
But I like the thought that they're just hanging out in their favorite spots, or they're looking after their family members, or they're just popping in to say hi and maybe mess with you a little bit.
Yeah.
They're not there to hurt you.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been to a haunted location where there was a ghost purposely trying to hurt people.
Yeah. Creep
It
them out,
was
maybe.
Oh,
Creep
yes,
them
creep them
out.
out. Yes, there was definitely ones that were pranksters and loved to
Yeah.
creep people out on purpose.
Yeah.
Um, but it's and then there's like the doppelganger, which is not a human spirit, so we're not. It doesn't fall into the same kind of situation. But
That's what freaks me out.
yeah, but yeah, it's the human ghosts that I've encountered that are just hanging around. They have reasons for hanging around. That's mostly where they liked being or where they're the most comfortable. Even if it's sad places, um, like Penhurst, people are there because that's where they were comfortable. So it's in their world, that's where they were comfortable. You kind of have to put them in,
In
put
context.
yourself in their shoes and
Yeah.
not so much cast your own opinions about the situation. So that's where they were comfortable, that's where they're happy, and that's where they hang out.
So I have a question. You know, this might be off topic. I don't know. But you remember when I got really like antsy and unsettled at Anchorage?
Mhm.
So I was thinking the other day, I've had a couple instances like that before. One was when I went to the body exhibit. I
Mhm.
felt the
Oh,
same way.
interesting.
Mhm.
And then, and this was after I had the experience at Anchorage when I went to the Cincinnati Zoo's Festival of Lights.
Mhm.
Something about, I don't know if it was my vision or whatever, but I felt really oppressed there under
Mhm.
the lights. And I've never felt that before. And I don't know if it was my astigmatism messing up my eyes, because with LED lights,
It
I
hurts.
can't see clearly. Like I
Yeah.
can't, you know, and that might have messed me up, but I don't know. It felt the same.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I mean, I'm not surprised at the bodies exhibit at all,
No.
considering
that-
it's somewhat dubious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it made
when we
me
get
really
to
uncomfortable.
when we get to Camp Chesterfield, we'll look into it.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to plan to do that.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next weekend, I'll be in Indy visiting Christine. She's having a Mary Kay party.
Oh,
Aw.
fun.
And again, you can cut this part out, but yeah, we'll have to plan something soon if we all want to go, because Christina, you're
Yes.
so busy.
Mhm.
Well,
And you
everybody's
too,
busy.
Kat. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Or if
on.
you want to wait until after things settle with your mom.
That may be slightly better.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a rush for sure.
No.
Yeah,
No.
it's Camp Chesterfield's been there for a few hundred, over 100 years. So
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I want to learn more about it. I'm
yeah,
gonna have to like investigate, because I think that would be a really interesting thing to experience, and it could be just that you're open up to being more sensitive, Jen.
yeah.
I
You've been
know.
hanging out with Chris and I,
Mhm.
and that probably is making you more what you already were, but you were closed off,
Yeah.
and now opening up, going, "Hey, well, my friends are able to see the dead. Maybe this is something I can do too."
I don't want to.
But it's
Maybe
happening
I do.
anyway.
I don't know. Christina said the same thing to me. Yeah.
That's
You're
funny.
more open. I am not.
Yes, you are. And the dead want to talk to you. They're like, "Hey, Jen,
Just don't make me feel anxious, please. I don't like
what's your
feeling anxious.
Starbucks order? Do you want soy milk with that?"
Chai latte. Thank you.
And a muffin. All
Well,
right.
on that note,
You could probably leave the Starbucks order one.
a little bit of minor editing at the end here. That's
Yeah,
all.
a little minor editing.
You know,
Little
actually,
tweak.
referring back to the main subject of the story, one of the things that was really funny in James' talks was he said the only thing consistent with the one police officer with Frogman was that he shot it. He thought it was really interesting, but that he shot it.
Mhm.
And I was wondering how often that happens with cryptids, that whoever finds it tries to shoot it. And thinking about the turtle and stuff, I was thinking at least they didn't try to shoot it.
Yeah, they did not try to shoot it. They just tried to catch it.
They probably would have killed it though and stuffed it, don't you think?
Yeah.
One
And
hopes
then it would have
people are
ended up
more-
in a restaurant in northern Indiana.
You know, that's the kind of sad
Jungle
thing
gyms.
about like these big animals, you know, wanting to hunt them or kill them, or rather than
Yeah.
learn more about them.
Yeah, because it's a trophy of
Yes,
something.
yes. I apologize for
Yeah.
being so ecological today. I don't know why I'm like talking
It kind of
about.
lends itself to it.
I think
Yeah.
it's because I've been painting pictures of poochers all day, and I'm like,
Probably. Yes.
Okay.
it's on the brain.
I looked up the place where
Mhm.
the fake Beast of Busco shell is, and
Mhm.
it is the Beast of Busco shell hangs in the Two Brothers restaurant in Decatur, Indiana.
Whoa.
Huh.
So
But it's not supposed to be the
it's
real.
not the real one.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
probably a leatherback tortoise.
Yes, probably if it's that large.
Yeah,
There's
but
probably shells around.
yeah.
But well, on that note,
Yeah. So, everyone, thank you for joining us for another wonderful episode of the Cincinnati Cabinet of Curiosities presents the Hometown Haunts podcast. I am your host, Cat Loco, and along with me on this strange and spooky ride through the netherworld is Jen Kohler and
that does sound
Christina Wald.
exciting.
It does,
Woohoo!
doesn't it? Sound it's like Beetlejuice Part 2.
I
Anyway,
know. I wish I saw
um,
more stripes.
yeah. So you can follow us at Sin Cabinet Curio on Twitter, at Cincy Cabinet of Curiosities on Instagram, and don't forget to join our Facebook group, Hometown Haunts. If you're from Churubusco, Indiana, and have been to this festival, please let us know what it's like, and join our Hometown Haunts, and also your own ghost stories from your neck of the woods. So, for me and everyone else on the team, good night and stay spooky. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.